stand here? Okay. So thanks a lot, Jeff, for having us all. It's been a wonderful night so far. I've loved the work I've heard so far, and the music as well. It's beautiful. So I'm just going to read several poems, and I thought I'd read things that are emblematic of the book's themes. And the first poem I want to read is about crossing the desert from Utah to San Francisco. And what this book is about, it's about my mother and her family who were incarcerated in prison camps during World War II as Japanese Americans. So Topaz refers to the camp where she was in Utah. But for many years I didn't know where that was or about that history. So this poem is about the sort of geographic crossing and then wondering where Topaz was and what it meant. It's called Crossing. No turning back. Deep in the Utah desert now, having left one home to return to the temple of my grandfather. I pressed the pedal hard. Long behind me, civilization's last sign, a bent post and a wooden board. No food or gas for 200 miles. The tank needling below half full. I smoke Camels to soothe my worry. Is this where it happened? What's left out there of Topaz in the simmering heat? On quartz asphalt I rush past salt beds, squint at the horizon for the desert's edge. A lone tower, a flattened barrack, some sign of Topaz, the camp where my mother, her family were imprisoned. As I speed by shrub cactus, the thought of it feels too near, too close. The engine steams, the radiator hisses. Gusts gather, wind pushes my Civic side to side, and I grip the steering wheel, strain to see through a windshield smeared with yellow jacket wings, blood of mosquitoes. If I can find it, how much can I really know? Were sandstorms soft as dreams, or stinging like nettles? Who held my mother when the wind whipped beige handfuls at her baby cheeks? Was the sand tinged with beige or orange from oxidized mesas? I don't remember my mother's answer to everything. High on coffee and nicotine, I half dream in waves of heat, summon ghosts from the canyon beyond thin lines of barbed wire. Our name Ishida. Ishi means stone, Da, the field. We were gemstones strewn in the wasteland. Only 3 days and 1,000 miles to go before I reach San Francisco, the church where my mother was born and torn away. Maybe Topaz in the desert was long gone, but it lingered in letters, photos, fragments of stories. My mother's room, now mine. The bed pulled blank with iron sheets. A desk set with pen and paper. Here, I would come to understand. I had a friend that I've been doing quite a few readings lately, and he noticed that no one clapped after the poems. He said, "Wow, why does anyone clap after your poems?" And I said, "Wow, it got me really worried." So tonight is very relieving. Thank you. Thank you for clapping. So this poem is about another element of the book, and actually Melissa's work evokes some of this, is what does it mean to be Japanese American, not just in terms of having your ancestors incarcerated, but the Japanese in Asia during World War II colonizing Korea, the Philippines, and China, and that complicated history, and then how that affects Japanese both in Japan and in America. So this poem is called Origin, and I'm half Japanese, so I'm thinking about what does it mean to be mixed race now, and then with those complex histories of being Japanese. So Origin. And my grandfather was a Buddhist priest, so he's mentioned here. Through darkness they came, covered in ash, scarred by depths and distance. They bore salt and fire, breath steaming at edges of decks, hands clutching railings, their bodies dizzied by the lurching vessel, trunks pulled by hand. Where are you from? I unwrap my legacy from cloth, the marble Buddha from my grandfather, ancient as the sea-stained covers of his sutras, the briny odor of carp, centuries old. What are you? Not only where they were from, but who they were and would become. His strange past and the mystery of my own face. American? The question flawed as we all appeared. My grandfather's birthplace, the half of me I'd lightened, bleaching my black hair to reach my girlfriend Amber's blonde. In her candlelit room, I touched the mission photo of her, rubbing ointment on the burns of a hibakusha. Where are water-filled troughs and horse maces my grandfather combed, the hay he bundled in twine? You from? Could he have smoothed names engraved in granite, the scars on the woman's skin, targets raised on maps? In a light class, what are a city of nips was erased? You, a blank scape, go back, no trace of his childhood farm in Hiroshima, to where? I turned away from the chalkboard scrawled with Enola Gay. You are, a button push, from, a bomb dropped. At Amber's picnic, they bowed over grace, and I looked up, didn't say amen. Everything rises when the ground skin is broken. Now I'm really worried, like no one claps at every reading, so this is a great reading. I'm really enjoying it. So I'm going to finish with a short poem, and my son is half Chinese, a quarter Japanese, and a quarter white. And there's this huge temple bell in the church, and it's my grandfather's church where I was a caretaker for many years. And I used to lift him and put his head inside the bell, which I think he liked. And we'd ring it, and he would smile. And I thought, if someone saw this out of context, it wouldn't look as loving as it was. But anyway, so it's about this temple bell that gets taken from Japan to America in the church and what it might mean in terms of history. It's just called Temple Bell Lesson for him, my son Brendan. Son, I am weighted. You are light. Our ancestors imprisoned, outcast in sand, swinging between scorching air and the insult of blizzards. Their skin bronzed and chilled like brass. Listen to their sorrow ringing. Thank you so much.
Komei Dempster. So can we get another round of applause for everybody in the We are going to take like a 10-minute break, so use the bathroom, go smoke a cigarette.